Critical Role splits the party a new Age of Sigmar edition, and Matt Mercer helped on the new DMG.
Wait, what?
Welcome to Fantasy News Friday, our weekend news rundown. Today, we're bringing you this video straight from GaryCon with a ton of D&D news, plus the latest Critical Role episode spoilers and deets on the new Age of Sigmar edition. Now remember, if you like these kinds of videos, be sure to like and subscribe so we can keep making them. Now, on to the news.
Check this out.
Critical Role has split the party again. After hours of deliberation, Bell's Hells decided to split into two parties in order to commit some patricide, with one group heading off to kill Fern's biological father, Sorrow Lord Zathuda.
They really want his mount? The little animal?
While the other group went for an infiltration mission. Now, matricide was also on the table, with the infiltration group debating whether to ultimately assassinate Imogen's mom, but they ultimately let the Golden Hammer make the decision on how to deal with her. So basically, NPCs are going to determine whether to capture or kill Imogen's mom, and her fate will basically probably be decided off screen. Basically, things are getting set up for some guest PCs in the not too distant future. Now, we'll note that Imogen tried to talk to Liliana again this episode, but she seems pretty, well, unredeemable. Despite all the pleading that Imogen made, Matt didn't allow for a single persuasion roll. In other news, the Imogen-Laudna relationship continues to reach new levels of toxic codependency, with Laudna once again trying to convince Imogen that she's a chosen one, and Imogen actually blaming Laudna for Delilah's slow return.
Just not going to end well.
Games Workshop has officially announced its new edition of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, its main fantasy miniatures game. The new edition will launch with the Skaven, a race of rat people ruled by the Great Horned Rat, warping their infamous Blight City into the Realm of Fire and threatening the mortal realms. The Vermin Doom causes Sigmar to send in the Ruination Chamber, a newly revealed sect of the Stormcast Eternals that have all but lost their humanity due to the many times they've died and been reforged. The new edition will contain a major rules update with a focus on streamlining accessibility and modularity. Also in the new edition will be a Spearhead game mode that can be played in an hour or less.
Can't wait!
Kobold Press has come to D&D Beyond. Earlier today, D&D Beyond announced that Tome of Beasts was now available on the platform, bringing around 400 new monsters to the game. Tome of Beasts and other Kobold Press books have been a mainstay in my 5e games, and it's interesting to see that Wizards is working with Kobold, even though they're currently also working on Tales of the Valiant, that started off as a protest against the OGL changes. Now we'll note that Kobold and Wizards have a long relationship together, and it's interesting to see that it's continuing on.
It's an interesting experience.
Daggerheart is putting up some huge numbers for Critical Role. Both the Session 0 and the one-shot have over 600,000 views, meaning they are on the way to becoming the most watched Critical Role shows for YouTube this year. We'll note that Daggerheart really seems to be a hot tabletop RPG at the moment. All our videos are doing great, and there seems to be a lot of discussion and excitement around the game as it enters its playtest period. The future definitely seems bright for Daggerheart, and we're guessing that it will have a presence on Critical Role's table for a long time.
Come on, give me it. Give me it.
In other tabletop fantasy RPG news, MCDM has hinted that its playtest for its new tabletop RPG could be delayed. Recently, James Introcaso noted that the company believed it could make a late Q2 delivery date for the next playtest packet, but that there were some factors, some of which were out of the company's control, that could push it back further. We are super hard at work on the RPG, Introcaso said in a post on the MCDM Discord. We want to make sure that we can provide the best play experience for you all before we unleash the playtest. Now take your time, MCDM. We're still excited to see what you come up with.
Patience
my friend.
Riot has announced that it has functionally reset development of a planned League of Legends MMORPG, which means that we will likely be waiting several years for an update. After a lot of reflection and discussion, we've decided to reset the direction of the project some time ago, League of Legends co-founder Matt Mercer said. This decision wasn't easy, but it was necessary. The initial vision just wasn't different enough from what you can play today. He went on to say that resetting our development path also means that we will be going dark for a long time. Likely several years. This silence will help provide space for the team to focus on the incredible amount of work ahead of them. We understand the excitement and anticipation that surrounds new information, but we ask for your trust during the silent phase.
Just trust me on this, okay?
Now, I have a lot of GaryCon news and tidbits coming straight from Wizards of the Coast, so let's start diving into that. Matt Mercer and Deborah Ann Wool consulted on the making of the new Dungeon Master's Guide. At GaryCon, Chris Perkins noted that Mercer and Wool were among the folks consulted on the new DMG, with a focus on making sure that the advice and tips given in the DMG would actually help players run a game. A full list of consultants wasn't provided at GaryCon, but Perkins did note that another consultant helped make sure that the DMG had tips for running games for kids as well.
This one's for the children.
In other GaryCon news, Chris Perkins also said that he was the writer of the upcoming LEGO adventure, which will feature 6 encounters and adventure segments built around each part of the LEGO adventure. In even more GaryCon news, we received confirmation that aged-up versions of the 1980s cartoon characters will appear in the Player's Handbook and DMG. The characters were aged up to prevent iconic D&D monsters from preying upon children, but the characters will appear in multiple illustrations. Now, we already knew that their respective magic items also appear in the DMG as new magic items and weapons, but I believe this is the first time that we've confirmed that the cartoon characters will be appearing in multiple illustrations throughout the new core rulebooks.
But wait, there's more!
We also received confirmation that the basic rules and SRD for 5e will be updated as part of the new rules revision, although Chris Perkins noted that that won't happen until the player's handbook is out of the building, in his words. Again, I think this is something that we knew, but this was explicit confirmation, and I'm including it because I think it's newsworthy. Also, we found out that the Shadowfell will be featured in the upcoming Vecna Eve of Ruin adventure, with the players journeying to Evernight, which is the dark Shadowfell mirror of Neverwinter, early on in the story. This marks the first time that 5e has featured the Shadowfell proper, although of course Curse of Strahd and the Ravenloft campaign setting are obviously part of that plane. Now, other places that we'll be visiting in the new adventure includes the Astral Sea, the Mournlands, Death House, Three Moons Vault in Krynn, the Tomb of Wayward Souls in Greyhawk, which is one of Acer Arak's tombs, and the Nine Hells. Now, we also learned that Lolth will not be appearing in the adventure, although she is alluded to and is allied with Vecna.
Are we done here?
Now, a little bit of an update from one of our past videos. We reported in an earlier video that D&D Beyond was not going to make the Vecna Nest of the Eldritch Eye available after the pre-launch date, and that came from language on their website. Now, that is no longer the case, and the new adventure will now be available for $4.99 on D&D Beyond if you don't pre-order the full Vecna adventure. So that's some good news. We always want to see content available for people no matter when they buy it.
Hot damn!
And finally, we now know which 6 adventures will be published in Quests from the Infinite Staircase. The anthology will include new versions of The Lost City, When a Star Falls, Pharaoh, Beyond the Crystal Cave, Descent into the Lost Caverns of Socanth, and Expedition to the Barrier Peaks. Now, from what we've been told of the adventures, and we actually got to play a little bit of the Lost Caverns adventure, the adventures contain some updates when needed, but keep the spirit of the original 1980s adventures alive. Well, that's all the news that we have this week. Let us know what your favorite story was in the comment section, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons.